You know what child please mean? Child please is a nice way of telling someone, F you.
Well, where do we even begin with Chad Johnson, aka Chad Ochocinco? If someone were to ask me to describe the madness of the NFL, I would simply just hand them the Chad Johnson Wikipedia page. We're talking first team All-Pros, legal name changes, lawsuits, TV shows, infamous touchdown celebrations, or how about that time he showed up at a fan's front door and challenged him to a FIFA game. This man was made for the internet. When you look at today's world, just about every athlete has an online presence. Even a Gen Xer like Tom Brady has found his little Twitter game. But as social media really took off last decade, Johnson was pretty much showing every athlete how it's done. In 2011, he was ranked the most influential athlete, beating out LeBron James, who ranked number 2. He was a headline generator, and even in retirement, he's still one of football's best personalities. So in today's video, we're gonna go over the wild career of Chad Johnson. We'll discuss what career choices he's made since leaving the NFL, and all the other nutty things that come with him as well. Oh yeah, he's also got a son at Arizona State, who Johnson thinks is a better receiver than he was. We'll be sure to talk about him as well. Chad Johnson and loud, spectacular flashiness may seem like they've always gone together, but in the beginning, things weren't always looking that way. I mean, he was always an extremely talented player. The problems, though, always came in the classroom. In high school, he was recruited by the big-name programs, but didn't have the grades to get in. He ended up attending Langston University in Oklahoma, but he was forced to leave due to bad grades and behavior. By the way, he apparently didn't fully pay the school for his short time there until over a decade later. He then made his way to Santa Monica College, but once again his grades held him back, and he eventually had to sit out another season. At this point, he considered giving up the sport altogether, but his grandma convinced him to get his grades in order so he could play. He did that and moved on up to Oregon State. But he wasn't allowed to practice until 3 weeks before the opener. He had no idea what to expect from a Pac-10 schedule. But when he started to play against this top competition, he realized how good he was. On a stacked Oregon State lineup that went 11-1, Johnson led the team in receiving yards. That catapulted him to the second round of the 2001 NFL Draft, where the Bengals selected him. After a quiet rookie year, he eclipsed 1,000 yards in just his second season. He outdid himself the next year, scoring double-digit touchdowns and getting selected to his first Pro Bowl. By 2005, he had established himself as one of the best receivers in the game. And at this point in his career, he had everyone watching him, and not just for his first-team All-Pro production. He had people turning on their TVs to watch what he did after the play. His touchdown celebrations were arguably the best the league has ever seen. This guy has highlight tapes full of everything after the play, not even the plays themselves. And even when he wasn't playing, he was still making headlines. Like that time he wore a Steelers terrible towel as a bib while eating lunch. Even as he stacked up tens of thousands of dollars in fines, in the end it was probably a worthy debt to pay when it came all back in marketing opportunities. In fact, he turned those fines into a touchdown celebration itself when he held up a sign asking for the NFL to stop fining him. On top of that, he believed his celebrations were helping the league anyway. He said Commissioner Paul Tagliabue and most of the suits in this league are all old school, and I really don't think they're for the end zone celebrations, but I know in the back of their minds, they're laughing. They can't wait to see what number 85 is going to do next. Johnson provided a much-needed spice in the NFL. Some people didn't like that spice. Maybe they thought he was cocky and big-headed. Other people loved the spice, so much so that they would order their NFL Sunday with extra spice. 'Cause Chad Johnson was extra spicy. No matter which way you lean, though, everyone had to admit this guy was a hard worker and talented player. Johnson wouldn't take days off. Instead, he'd prefer to go over the game plan again with coaches. He was known as the hardest working player on the team. He'd come prepared on Sunday so he could talk the talk and walk the walk. He was first going to let you know that he was going to score on you, then he was going to go ahead and do it. If you asked Johnson in 2005 who in the world could cover him, he'd say only the IRS, because they'd been after him for a while. In 2006, he had another first-team All-Pro season and was named the #1 showboat in pro sports. Then in October of that year, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, the legend of Ochocinco was born. Johnson announced that he now wanted to be called Ochocinco, so he velcroed that name to the back of his jersey. That was yet another fine. Eventually, though, he found a way around it. He legally changed his name to Chad Ochocinco, and the problem was solved. Still, in 2009, a Japanese film crew told Ochocinco that the Japanese fans all know who he is, so he announced he would be changing his name to Chad Hachi-Go. This time, of course, meaning 8-5 in Japanese. Unfortunately for us fans, that change never actually went all the way through. In 2010, Ochocinco paired up with Terrell Owens to create The T. Ocho Show. That was fun, but it only lasted 1 year. He was also a Final Four contestant on Dancing with the Stars, and during the NFL lockout in 2011, he tried out for an MLS team. In the NFL, though, Ochocinco's production had begun to dip, and his time in Cincinnati had come to a close. They traded him to the Patriots for a couple late-round picks. Although the Patriots made the Super Bowl, he struggled to fully understand the playbook and couldn't get on the same page with Tom Brady. So he was released after just 1 season. At this point, Ochocinco was getting married, and, I guess his wife wasn't too thrilled about the last name Ochocinco, so that was the end of that. Speaking of endings, Johnson's NFL career was wrapping up as well, with the Dolphins signing him and then cutting him in the preseason after he got arrested. In 2014, he went north to play Canadian football, though he had some injury problems and then didn't report for camp the next year. Still, he wasn't entirely done with football. This time in 2017, he went south and played in a Mexican league for 1 game. And hey, he did catch a touchdown. After that, he played for the semi-pro soccer team Boca Raton FC, and that actually lasted for 2 years. At one point, he was going to try out for the XFL, but as a kicker. As expected, that one never happened. Nowadays, he calls himself a professional Call of Duty Warzone player. He's also one of the hosts on the I Am Athlete podcast, which has actually been in the news lately. And of course, it seems like he's always playing his fans in FIFA, sometimes even at their own house. His son Chad Johnson Jr. is a 4-star recruit at Arizona State. Funny enough, old Bengals coach Marvin Lewis is an assistant coach there right now. So he's once again been reunited with a Chad Johnson. Also, Jr. is the same height as his dad at 6'1". One thing though, he's currently number 17. If he ends up making the NFL, which we obviously have to root for, we'll see if he has any tricks up his sleeve. His father will always be remembered for those shenanigans, and I don't think he'd want it any other way. He'll go down as one of the NFL's great playmakers and all-time troublemakers.
This just in. Chad Johnson has changed his name to Chad Chats. Oh, wait, I have a better one. What does Chad Johnson say to his son when he is mad at him? Child, please, get it?